Hey everyone, I know it's been a while, but I'm back, and this is going to be a departure from my usual content because today I thought, why don't we just read some Reddit stories? So that's what we're going to do today. Get comfortable, get something to eat, and enjoy. So for our first story, we are on r/am I wrong, and let's just go ahead and get into it. Boyfriend snapped at me because I asked him if he was thinking about having sex with his ex. What a title, and kind of a tongue twister. Let's go. A couple weeks ago, I found out that my boyfriend, twice in our 2-year relationship, would go on his ex's Instagram to see how she was doing, and in the process, he would look at her photos, causing him to relive having sex with her and start wishing he was having sex with her in that moment. I ended up finding out about it because he was looking online for help with these feelings. Fast forward to today, my boyfriend is in therapy and reads a trauma recovery book because it's believed these feelings stem from a trauma bond between his ex. Very abusive. This isn't very well written. Fast forward to today, my boyfriend is in therapy and reads a trauma recovery book because it's believed these feelings stem from a trauma bond because his ex was very abusive to him. I ended up having sex today, and while sex was good in terms of his performance, I noticed that he was completely distant and drifted off many times. Usually he would look at me or look at my vagina, but this time he was just looking off to the distance through the window, or closing his eyes. I kept asking him if everything was okay, and he said yes, everything is fine. He's just tired or he smoked. Which can be true for him sometimes, but he's never been this detached during sex, ever. At one point, he randomly laughed during sex, and I asked him what was funny, and he spoke about a memory from a football game. After sex was complete, I ended up confronting him about being distant during sex, and I asked him if he was thinking about his ex. He then went off on me and told me he's never thought about his ex during sex with me, and that I'm always trying to find some type of issue after we have sex. He said he made me come over 20 times, so instead of me being grateful, I'm over here finding something else to complain about. He said he's doing therapy for his issues, yet I'm still not satisfied. I ended up walking to the other room. He followed me and said, "Why are you upset? I didn't even do anything wrong. Let's talk about this." I said, "I can't talk right now. I just need a moment." He left and I've been crying in my pillow. Am I wrong for asking him? Honestly, I can understand why you would ask, but at the same time, I feel like during intercourse is probably not the best time to ask. But, I guess, but no, I wouldn't do it. I think you're not in the wrong per se because you definitely have your reasons to think that he may, but I think when you ask is probably not the best time. Okay, this one is from r/n relationships, and this one's going to be a little bit longer than the last one, but I think it'll be a bit more interesting. Let's go ahead and get into it. I think my sister is a narcissist. Recently, I, 21 female, have been having more conflict with my sister, 27 female, and after months of it, I'm starting to wonder if she's a narcissist. For context, we have different dads, and my dad, who was abusive, was very present in her life when we were younger. Because I was so little during that time, I barely remember it and wasn't really on the receiving end of the abuse. Our relationship has always felt transactional. As kids, she'd only let me hang out with her if I did her favors, grabbing her food or drinks, doing small things for her, etc. If I said no, she'd tell me to leave. She constantly insulted my looks and made fun of how I dressed or did my hair. The only time she acted like a caring sister was in front of other people. She never came to my school events or checked on me when I overdosed at 14. Wow. Whenever I opened up, I was called dramatic or too sensitive. We became closer when I was 17 and she was 23. During the worst part of her relationship with her abusive ex, I was her emotional support. She'd sleep in my room after fights and vent for hours. I was always there for her, but she's never shown up for me in the same way. These past 2 years have been the hardest. We argue over the smallest things. If she says I'm not doing my chores and I explain that I am, I'm just balancing school, work, and helping her with her kids, she claims I'm blaming her and tells my mom I'm not pulling my weight. Then my mom yells at me to get it together because I live at home for free. It's a never-ending cycle of her twisting things and me being the one scolded. It escalated when she made an uncalled for comment about my dad. I snapped and told her she's selfish, disrespectful, and never respects anyone's boundaries. I can admit I was harsh, but I was at my limit. She immediately played the victim, said I'd ruined our relationship, and even after I apologized, she refused to take accountability for her part. Not long after, things turned physical over my purses. I have several vintage Coach bags my mom gave me, and when my sister saw them, she decided she could take one. I told her no, and she insisted they weren't really mine since they were gifts. When I tried to close my door, she blocked it, forced her way into my room, and I pushed her out. She swung on me, and we fought. Since then, she's threatened to fight me multiple times and constantly attacks my appearance and emotional reactions. My mom acknowledged that it started because my sister crossed the boundary, but my sister refuses to even consider that, and I decided that after that semester was over, I was going to move in with my boyfriend because we had already talked about it and I finally had enough. A couple of weeks ago, my brother, mom, sister, and I had a serious conversation in the kitchen about everything that's been going on in the house. The focus ended up mostly on my sister. During the talk, she shared that she's held resentment toward me because as the youngest, I was spoiled, and because my dad abused her. I told her I felt for her and what happened with my dad, but asked her not to resent me for things I had no control over. She didn't acknowledge that and instead shifted the conversation to say she felt deeply betrayed by me for saying mean things about her dad, reminding me that she had always come to me in her times of need. I immediately felt terrible, like I was a bad person and a failure as a sister, and I apologized to her again. Flash forward to a few days ago. Things came to a head. My mom was asked about my plan to move out, and my sister butted in, poking holes in everything I said and claiming I'm in a bad relationship because she hears us argue every night, which is completely false. Every time I told her she was wrong, she doubled down. My stepdad finally stepped in and told her to stop berating me, saying she has no idea what goes on in a relationship she isn't a part of. They started arguing because he butted into a private conversation of hers, and he finally said what I've been feeling for a while, that everyone in the house walks on eggshells because of her. That was the first time I felt truly validated. The pattern is the same every time. She starts conflict, plays the victim, my mom tries to keep the peace, and I end up feeling gaslit and like the problem. No, yeah, this sister is not it. Like, I think she's a narcissist too. Just the way she's moving and handling the situation is horrible. And the fact that the entire family is standing on eggshells and everyone kind of knows it, I think definitely kind of supports that. Also, like, just that entire thing with the bag where she forced herself into the room and it just seems very off. So I don't think you're too wrong in saying that your sister's a narcissist. But I'm also not a therapist or a psychologist, so I don't know. But, you know. Okay, so our next story comes again from r/am I wrong. The title goes, Am I 32 male the asshole? Alright, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm confused and I need some advice. I've been seeing my partner, 30 female, for about 6 months now. She's extremely loving, sweet, and fun. But when we first started talking, she mentioned her and her ex were friends. She moved to the state we live in now to move in with him last year. It didn't end up working out, and they broke up when the lease got close to ending, which was about a month before we met. They were in a relationship for 3 years, but she says she checked out 6 months before the relationship actually ended. They tried to remain friendly, and he helped her move, but he hasn't talked to her since her and I started dating. Fast forward to yesterday, and I found out that it wasn't quite true. It turns out he's the one that ended it with her, and she tried to fix things. It was absolutely heartbroken and devastated for months. They kept seeing each other and hooking up until about 3 weeks before our first date. And a week before that, she was telling her friend about how she wasn't eating, couldn't breathe, and didn't want to live without him. 10 days later, we were on our first date. She never went on another one with someone else, and we've been together since. 3 months in, she met a girl out of the blue who wanted to be friends, and it turns out the only mutual connection they have in the city is her ex. This prompted her to reach out to him to tell him to stay out of her life. Although she deleted the text and has no way of proving that to me, she did offer to reach back out and have him explain what the final texts were, but I mean, come on. Am I wrong for feeling some type of way about this? Before I found this out, I had reservations about being a rebound, but she's assured me time and time again that I'm not, and that she loves me more than anything. It just feels hard to believe now. If a week before our first date you were starving yourself and sleeping 15 hours at a time, devastated over your breakup, what should I do here? This is a tough one. I think her turnaround time to getting into another serious relationship was extremely quick. A 3-year relationship and then taking 3 weeks and then getting straight into something is kind of crazy. I think he was definitely a rebound a little bit, but I don't think she has any malicious intent anymore. I feel like you started off as a rebound and now you're the main thing now, but I don't think you're wrong for still feeling any type of way about this. I think you should communicate that to her. And you guys should have a long conversation about it, especially her lying to you. And just get all your feelings out on the table and then see where that leads. But you definitely should not feel bad about feeling wrong about this. This is definitely something that is crazy and should be addressed. Okay, so this next story is from r/am I the asshole. The title goes, Am I the asshole for having a new neighbor's car towed? Hello. So, for background info, my wife and I have been living at our apartment for 3 years now and have never had an issue like this before. Our complex has open parking spots that are first come, first served. They also have covered ones you can pay for. We have a covered spot that we've been paying for the whole time we've been here. We did this because my wife gets off work anywhere between 12 a.m. to 2 a.m., so they have a spot always available. Now, last night when I got home, I didn't look at our spot. I never do. I never park in it. I park in an uncovered spot if one's available. Otherwise, I park further away on the street. When my wife got home, though, at 1 a.m., there was a random car we had never seen before. I have no idea who it belongs to. I'm not about to go knocking on random doors at 1 a.m. to find out whose it is either. For all I know, the car didn't even belong to someone in our same building. So we called the security for our complex and they came out, verified we owned the spot, and then marked the car for tow. My wife had to park way down on the street in the meantime, and we live off a not so great main road, so they didn't feel safe walking from the car. Once towed, I went and grabbed our car and moved it back to our spot. The part that makes me feel like an asshole is that today I ended up meeting that apparent new neighbor. They were being nice but in an intimidating way. She told me I could have come knocked, that it was okay, she had the money to cover the tow. Every time I tried explaining the situation, she was just talking over me. We exchanged names, she dapped me up, a very aggressive dap I might add, and then proceeded to tell me that the office lied to her. She said they told her it's first come, first serve. I'm a very passive person, so the whole confrontation just made me feel like we did wrong and that we should have just gone knocking on doors. If I'm being honest, I don't think you're the asshole. It's 1 a.m. in the morning, and I feel like, I don't know how your complex is set up, but I feel like they would have some type of like designated sign or something to tell people that it's probably covered and you shouldn't park there. But even then, knocking on doors at 1 a.m. probably wouldn't have yielded any great results either because it is 1 a.m. I'm assuming most people are going to be in bed or going to sleep. So I don't think you should feel like the asshole. I feel like if there was a sign and they just chose not to look at it, that's their fault. And even then, I mean, yeah, I think you're perfectly fine for getting it towed. It's 1 a.m. Like, let's go to bed. Okay, so our next story is again from r/Am I the Asshole? And it goes, am I the asshole for not wanting our friend to ever come back to our house after he ate literally everything we owned? Okay, that's kind of crazy. That's a crazy sentence, but my husband and I live abroad. Earlier this year, a mutual acquaintance, let's call him K, reached out saying he'd been scammed with an apartment rental and had nowhere to stay. At first, we offered only a weekend, but he was polite, helped around the house, and seemed grateful, so we ended up letting him stay the full 20 days he'd asked for. During that time, some things rubbed us the wrong way. He never bought groceries, and multiple times he pretended he was going to pay but forgot his wallet, or claimed he could only use Apple Pay, not accepted at our local supermarket. He'd eat way more than his share. Once my husband and I shared half a pizza and he ate the other pizza and a half without contributing. Still, we felt bad for him, so we let it go. We stayed friendly, and a few months later we were planning a 17-day trip. Since he was struggling with rent, we offered him to stay at our place in exchange for taking care of our dog. I even wrote a Google Doc with instructions for the house, dog care, gym access, etc. I told him he could eat anything that was going to expire, fruit, veggies, yogurt, etc. When we came back, everything was gone, and I mean everything. The entire fridge, freezer, pantry. He finished 2 jars of jam, a jar of peanut butter, a giant Costco bottle of olive oil, condiments, rice, snacks, cheese, even my husband's supplements, creatine, protein, collagen. He completely destroyed a ceramic pan. He consumed things that usually last us 6 months in just 2 weeks. I honestly suspect he might have taken stuff with him because it's insane how much was missing. I didn't confront him except to ask him to replace the pan. When he mocked me about, it's just a pan, why are you making it a big deal? I felt deeply disrespected. Now he keeps texting me, acting like nothing happened and wants to hang out. I told my husband I don't want him in our home ever again. My husband says I'm being too harsh, and if he wants to stay friends, that's his choice, but I feel completely taken advantage of and disrespected. So am I the asshole for not wanting to see this guy ever again and refusing to let him come back to our house? Heck no! You are not the asshole for that. This guy stole what has to be over hundreds of dollars of groceries while you guys graciously let him spend his time sounding like basically barely paying you any rent or any money at all in your house, and all he had to do was take care of a dog. And instead, he stole literally every food item that you had and destroyed a pan. You are not the asshole. I don't even know why your husband is thinking that they should still be friends, or that that's too harsh. That is completely ridiculous. You're not that. So I think you should honestly press charges or something because that is ridiculous. Okay, so I know I haven't really been commentating on the gameplay, but I was honestly so confused playing this. I haven't played Lego Fortnite since it first came out, and this was low-key frying me. Like, everything was so different and new. I don't know, but it's actually really cool. I'm going to continue playing it and maybe see if I can really get into it. Okay, so our next story is from r/Am I Wrong? And it goes, am I wrong for calling out my friend's boyfriend? I'm 25 female, tall for a woman. I'm 5'10". My fiance, 23 male, is a little taller than me. He's 6'1". I've been in 2 relationships before I met my fiance, and he's the first guy I've been with that's taller than me. One was 5'8", the other was 5'10". I don't care about height. Do I have a preference? Yeah. Does it matter? No, not really. What I'm trying to say is that height doesn't matter to me. I'm with my fiance because I love him, not because he's taller than me. We've been together for 5 years, and our heights rarely come up. My friend, 25 female, just started dating a guy, 29 male, and he seemed nice when I first met him. I'm not sure if this matters, but he's close to my height. I'd say 5'9" if I were to guess. Although, when he met my fiance, he started making comments about women always wanting taller men and how tall men should give shorter guys a chance. It's been really annoying, but every time I bring it up to him, he gets defensive and claims he's joking. A couple of friends and I were hanging out yesterday, and my fiance was there. My friend's boyfriend was there too. He kept making comments throughout the day about women not giving shorter guys a chance. He said that tall women should give shorter guys a chance, and I had enough. I asked if he could please stop making comments like that. He claimed he was joking, and I said, joking or not, can you please stop? He got all mad and stormed off. We gave my friend a ride home, and I apologized to her on the way, and she said it wasn't my fault. My friend texted our group chat today saying that her boyfriend wanted me to apologize to him for calling him out. I don't want to apologize because I don't think I was rude. My friends mostly agree with me, but a couple think I should apologize to keep the peace. Am I wrong for calling out my friend's boyfriend? I don't. Maybe it's just the kind of person I am, but I probably wouldn't have called him out for it. I think it might just be an ill-mannered joke, and I do think he should have been okay with just stopping the joke in general after you asked him to stop, but I don't necessarily think it was a huge deal. Now, if he was saying it and he kept saying it because he wanted you and he wanted you to kind of like open up to talking to him, even though you have a fiance, then I completely understand that's a valid call out. But I don't know if that's exactly what was going on. But she does have some further comments that kind of clarify what's going on. So someone asks if she mentioned that this feels like a dig at her and asks if she communicated that to him. And she goes, I've mentioned that his jokes feel like digs at me in the past, and I've told him I've dated shorter guys than my fiance, but he just doubles down on them being jokes. Then I feel like he's definitely an asshole for not stopping the jokes after you ask, but I don't know if this is really that big of a situation. It seems like he might just be an asshole though, and that's one thing, but I feel like this joke is not that huge of a deal. I'm really trying to kind of like map out how I want everything to look in this village. I know it's not Minecraft, so I'm not gonna try and overdo it like that because I can't really build in Lego games, especially this one. Trust me, I know. But I'm just trying to get like kind of a lay of the land because I'm also gonna move a lot of the stuff around because I have no buildings right now, which is not gonna be the same way. But I do need to have some beds so I can get some more villagers. Okay, so this next story comes from r/relationship advice. And it goes, my cousin, 29 female, had an affair with my husband, 34 male, while I, 29 female, was pregnant and now she's gone. Which is a crazy title. Like, that's why I picked this story, because this sounds interesting. I, 29 female, brought my cousin, 24 female, to live with me a few years ago. She was going through a difficult time and I wanted to help her get back on her feet. She became part of our household and was there for me throughout my pregnancy. I trusted her completely. She felt like a sister to me. Over time, I started to notice things that didn't feel right between her and my husband. I tried to brush it off because I didn't want to believe it, but eventually when I asked her directly, she refused to say anything. It wasn't until I involved our families that's when the truth came out. She was pregnant and the father was my husband. I can't even describe the pain I felt. Betrayed by both of them, broken and lost, her parents took her back to the village and not long after she gave birth. Tragically, she didn't survive childbirth. Now I'm left with so many emotions, anger, sadness, confusion, even guilt. I don't know how to process everything or where to even begin healing. How do you begin to heal and rebuild your life when forgiveness feels impossible, but grief keeps you stuck in the past? Okay, so before I get into my thoughts, this story intrigued me in a few different ways. First, the title says my cousin 29 female, and then she starts the story off by saying the cousin was 24. I'm assuming that the few years ago part is like I'm dilated, so she's not 24 now. She was 29. I don't know. That's kind of confusing. And then also in the story, she says that the parents took her back to the village. So I'm assuming this is a third world country. Don't get me wrong. Like, don't quote me on that though. I don't know. I just hear village and I instantly think of a place with less social infrastructure. But what's it called? This is insane. I feel like the relationship that you had with your husband is probably destroyed. I don't think you can really rebuild that, especially after you bringing in one of your family members and building such a close bond with them over the amount of time you guys spent together, just for your husband to not only impregnate her, but also her to go and do that behind your back. It's kind of crazy. I feel like it would definitely be a situation where it's kind of irreversible. The only thing I'd say you could really do is just trying to figure out a good way of co-parenting with the kid that you already have with your husband. Yeah, this is tough, and I hate to see stuff like this. Like, this is insane. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, but yeah. And on top of that, like, the person you cared about is dead. But yeah, and those are all of the stories that I found interesting that I could find last week. I actually enjoyed making this video. Like, the editing process, the reading process, I feel like it's great, and it's also helping me work on my speech skills, because I feel like I always try and like speed run through everything and talk really fast. And this has kind of helped me like slow down and actually read the stories. One, so I can comprehend them and give my thoughts, and two, also so it's more digestible and easy for you guys to listen to. I'm definitely not perfect at it though. Like, I'm sure some of the earlier stories were pretty rushed, but as I continued to make it and listening back, I learned kind of to slow it down. But yeah, if you guys have any game recommendations to play in the background, or any stories you want to see, or you guys want to submit your own, I can set something up so you guys can do that. But yeah, hopefully you guys like this new direction that I'm taking, and any ideas for content, let me know. Like, I'm itching to edit videos and I'm itching to upload. So I'm actually really excited for what this has in store. Yeah. Also, if you've reached all the way here, I feel like you kind of care. So me and my friends have a clothing brand called Fonder Love, and I would really appreciate it if you guys would check out our stuff. Just leave a follow or something like that. I'll leave it in the description. And yeah, like and subscribe if you like the video, and I hope you guys have a blessed night. I'm still standing on 2 feet, and watching winter even after this tragic loss, man. And I got something else to tell you, baby. I remember them on-call PMs, breakfast and a wake up. Now Trey's committed, we waiting on a breakup so we can get back.